Hello, my loves, and welcome to Shots of Serenity, where you can find dope conversations and a peace of mind. This podcast is not meant to be a replacement for counseling or psychotherapy. I encourage each and every one of you to seek out a licensed helping professional as you see fit. This podcast was established as a safe space to continue the conversation of mental health and all of its manifestations. Now, let's get into it. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of Shots of Serenity podcast. I am your host, Jasmine St. John, and this is a beautiful space to land where we like to explore ways to welcome peace and love into our lives through mindfulness, soul care, and self-exploration. If this is your first time listening, hello, love. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are an OG listener, thank you for the continued support. Regardless, we like to start each episode off by asking, how are you genuinely doing? With the intentions to go beyond, I'm good, I'm okay, I'm chilling, right? Okay. February came and left. Or it's leaving. We still got one more week. But yeah, I know it's a shorter month, but it wasn't like January. So I hope that February treated you all well. Happy Lunar New Year. Happy almost spring. All right, let's bring the spring, please. Anywho, again, after taking some time to check in with yourself, ask yourself how you're doing. I have a really big favor to ask you. Okay, like this favor is a big favor, but it's not something that's going to be for me. It's going to be something that's beneficial for you. So before you're like, I don't have space or time for the favors, listen. So I have been noticing that I have been intellectualizing a lot more than usual. And I think it's a theme that I notice a lot of people do, especially like in the work that I do. And I wanted this to be a friendly reminder for us to allow ourselves to be emotionally aware as well. Okay, so this is going to be short. It's going to be quick. It's going to be to the point. This has been on my heart this week, and I wanted to kind of just like get it out. Like I said, the word of the year is execution. So I'm trying to go from thought to do, thought to do to thought. Yeah. So the intentions for today is not to stop intellectualizing, but if we are going to intellectualize, which we all do, can we at least add in feeling things through? Can we also hold space for the feelings? Can we also hold space for understanding what this looks and feels like in our body? So intellectualizing is really like a coping mechanism where we give a lot of practical, analytical reasoning why something happens, almost in an unconscious effort to detach from feeling the thing. Like, okay, yeah, this happened because of X, Y, and Z. I know why it happened. All is well. There's a difference between understanding and, again, intellectualizing versus, okay, this did happen. Not only how did it make me feel, but where did I feel it? How did my body respond to that? What are the emotions that are attached to that? What are some of the thoughts that are attached to that? Right? And when I allowed this to move through me, what then maybe was the insight that I got out of it? And so throughout the years, we talk often about intellectualizing to embodiment. We can intellectualize, but make sure we embody, right? So I don't want to say on the flip side of that, but on the other side of that spectrum is embodiment, is the feeling. When you're upset, are we rushing to be done with being upset, or are we allowing ourselves to be upset? Because in that upsetness, we notice like our actions, our behavior, and it'll give some more insight, some more intellectual understanding on how you operate when anger is present. And like I say all the time, there's no bad emotions. There are conducive and non-conducive ways on how we respond after noticing an emotion, but anger is just as important as happiness. Frustration, embarrassment is just as important as being excited or being surprised, right? I truly believe that emotions give us a lot of context, a lot of understanding, and that does not mean that it needs to be the primary source for how we decide to respond. So the thing about intellectualizing, it also kind of creates like a distance between experiencing an overwhelming moment or situation versus moving through an overwhelming moment or situation or situation that made you feel overwhelmed. Something that I really like to do with clients is first acknowledge the shift, right? So for example, let's say I am dilly and dallying at the park and I'm happy, go lucky, I'm excited, I'm witty, I'm playful, and all of a sudden I don't feel those ways anymore. Can we notice that? Notice the moment that, or a few moments after that, we were again feeling happy, excited, and then there was a shift. So let's acknowledge it. Let's not ignore that there was a shift happen. So an example would be like, I'm feeling something, but I guess we'll still be at this park. Or I guess I'll continue my conversation. Or I guess I'll continue playing this game even though I don't really want to, right? So first things first, let's acknowledge the shift. And a lot of times, if one is not in touch with their emotions, in touch with their body, it's difficult for them to even notice a shift. Like it just feels like, okay, this is my everyday. I go up, I go down. It is what it is. And that's okay. First start with noticing. And this could be the first step. Maybe it takes some time before you even move on to the next steps. And this is actually I would like it to be in chronological order. After you get a practice with it, it doesn't necessarily have to be in chronological order. And so if you need this in a more practical way, maybe when the shift happens, you can connect with your body or even kind of pause like, oh, there it goes. So whether a physical connection or a verbal acknowledgement, a physical acknowledgement, like connecting with your body, whether it's like tapping. And if you're watching, using the same example, if you are at the park, maybe doing some tapping, like, okay, maybe it's a combination. Maybe you acknowledge, oh, there's a shift there. Or maybe it's, again, both. Oh, there's a shift there. And then there's tapping. Or simultaneously. There's no right or wrong way, but acknowledge it, whatever that looks and feels like for you. And again, play with this. You may not have the answer right now, and that's okay. We're not trying to perfect. We are being in practice. We are doing the embodiment, right? And so after we acknowledge and we give that signal to our mind and our body, at least consciously, because a lot of times our body is already signaling us. We're just not even aware of it. So consciously acknowledging your body and acknowledging it, verbally. The second part is emotional identification. What feeling and what emotion is present? So I love emotion wheels. You can literally type it in on, I've said this a million times, you can type it in on Google and you'll find it. I have some emotion wheels in my favorite album in my phone. I have them saved on my desktop. I want it to be accessible to send, to pull up, to show on my phone. And so I invite you to do the same thing, whether you decide to create your own emotion wheel, whether you decide to print it. There's some on any platform. When you Google it, you'll also see people have created this to put in like I would say like kids' rooms, but I think in general it should be anywhere. So acknowledge the emotion. And I'm not saying the feeling, I'm saying the emotion. We're acknowledging the feeling in the first part. And maybe we could talk about the difference between a thought, a feeling, and emotion. So we'll get back to that. But acknowledge the emotion. So either from, prior information where you're like, oh, okay, no, this is anger, or no, this is frustration, or no, this is irritation. There's a difference. Or this is me being not irritated. This is me being enraged, right? Like there is a difference between frustration, irritation, mad, angry, so forth, right? So maybe it's prior knowledge, or again, you get some context. Why is this important? Because language is important. Language is important. That brings us to the third piece. Make a declaration out loud. And this is the one where, again, there's no chronological order. Maybe this is something you go back and journal to. Maybe you have to sit with the acknowledgement, sit with the feeling, and then you're able to put a name to the emotion, and then you're able to use the I statement, or you can verbalize it. And so that would look like in the park example, I feel upset. Or that upset, or I felt upset when that happened, right? Let's make up an experience. I felt upset when Sally kicked me in the head with the ball. Yes, Sally may need to be watching herself and being mindful of herself, or maybe Sally did it on purpose. But let's acknowledge that, right? Because this is going to be the difference between when you feel versus go punching Sally in the face or go walking away or asking for clarification. Sally, you hit me. Did you notice that you hit me? Because it seems like you just walked away and started talking to your friends, right? Or maybe you use this as context because it seems like every time you and Sally play, she's hitting you in the head with the ball. And so at this point, maybe a pattern is coming up, right? This is when the processing could happen. This is when the intellectualizing could happen, right? But first, we have to understand what it is. Again, I do want to highlight the fact that this doesn't have any time context, right? This could take being in the moment. This can take a few hours. And I'm not saying you're sitting in it in a few hours, but I'm saying you're able to, have the answer for the questions in that time. This could take a few days. Right? Because again, once you have that I feel statement, maybe you can then go journal or what have you. I think that although this may sound very, very slow and almost like, girl, I'm not thinking about all those things in the moment. I've heard that from clients. So how you expect me to think about all that in the moment? Again, it's not time oriented. And I do think that if this is new for you, taking it one step at a time. So take time to increase your awareness and acknowledgement that a shift has happened. Once you get your reps in with that, maybe you can allow yourself to pull up an emotion wheel and then say, okay, this shift happened. What emotion is coming up for me? Or, okay, this thing happened. Before I go to bed tonight, I need to figure out what emotion came up for me. And then get your reps up with the emotional identification where you may not need the wheel. Honestly, I think the wheel is always helpful to be able to, again, kind of give context like, oh, well, actually, I didn't think of that. Like, I am excited about this thing happening, but I'm also a little worried, right? So getting those reps. And then the third part, once those two pieces are you feel confident and comfortable with them, let's get into the third one. I statements. I feel. I. Before we bring Sally into the sentence, let's start with I. This is not in a sense of blaming. This is not in a sense of invalidation, but this is in the sense of prioritizing self and how said thing impacted you first. Are you following me? Are you making sense? All right. The last thing I figured that we'll talk about is the difference between a thought, a feeling, and an emotion. Sometimes they can get really jumbled up together. A thought is simply that, something that you think. It can be, oh, there's a butterfly. Oh, that light is really bright. Or, oh my gosh, my leg is falling asleep, right? A feeling oftentimes is a sensation. right? So maybe that is some tightness in your chest. Maybe your stomach growls, you feel your stomach rumbling. And the emotion part is hunger, right? So how an emotion is how you conceptualize a thought and a feeling. Kind of like the summary, your own personal summary of a thought and a feeling. That is an emotion. Emotion is how you conceptualize it, how you put it into a word, how you, kind of like if you were to work backwards, like the emotion is the word and then the thought and the feeling is like the definition, how you came up with the definition. The fourth one that I didn't mention is the behavior. How are we responding? And I think that's where a lot of us get things mixed up, because a lot of times we're not understanding how we're feeling. We're not acknowledging how we're feeling. We don't understand the emotion that's present. We didn't really notice the thoughts that transpired, but we just decided to respond. And then when we slow down, we're like, oh, I responded because of this, or this happens. Or maybe we don't even take the time. It's like, yeah, I responded. I hit Sally. That's it. So again, I know this feels so, well, I don't know. Let's not assume. I can imagine this may feel very like elementary, very trivial. However, it is so simple that it's easy for it to go under the rug. And when we don't slow down and notice our thoughts, our feelings, and understand our emotions, it leads to unhealthy responses, unhealthy behaviors. It leads to intellectualizing because we want to avoid what is happening, right? If anything, if you can take anything away from this conversation, it's one, to slow down and to allow yourself to feel. Even this practice can contribute to intellectualizing. You're like, oh, that was the feeling. Oh, that was the emotion. Oh, this is how I feel. Move forward. No. we're talking about this so we can grasp this and so we can move through it. And that part isn't linear. Maybe we move through it. Maybe it takes a few days and weeks to feel. You feel down, you feel heavy. You're not really understanding what it is that you're feeling. You just feel heavy. And maybe you do hold some space to kind of unpack, to analyze, to process after you felt it and you gain some insight from it. Are we still here? All right. So like I said, I wanted this to be quick. I wanted this to be practical. This is not, like I say with everything, this is not a magic fix or a magic pill. This is an opportunity for us to really start back understanding our feelings. I know feelings can be kind of problematic for people, and we're in a space of like, let's hustle, let's just go, let's move. Like, don't worry about your feelings. Your feelings get you, have you sitting down. Your feelings ain't gonna get you money. Da, 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 da. Your feelings matter because they're yours. It's a part of your experience, and it gives so much context. How we decide to move after them is where we need to take some agency and accountability and some intention with our choice. But baby steps before we even get there. Okay? Alrighty, loves. I hope that this episode was helpful. If it was, please save it so it's something that you can come back to and share it with someone that you feel like can benefit from it. I hope that the rest of February is very kind to you, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye. Thank you, my loves, for taking the time out to listen and join the conversation. I really hope you all enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast. If you've done so already and you like the vibes, be sure to write a review wherever you're listening to Shots of Serenity. It truly helps. Also, feel free to email or DM us with any recommendations, questions, comments, or concerns. Our email is shotsofserenity@gmail.com. Our Instagram is shotsofserenity_. and those are all spelled the exact same way it is spelled on our podcast. I'll see you guys next episode. Thanks again for listening. Peace and blessings to you all and your families.